G'day my friends, Marty Ware here from martysgarden.com.au. Something really cool for you today. Yes, this is a papaya. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to be talking about how I'm growing this amazing papaya using only worms, compost and straw. And it's producing all these beautiful, lovely fruits. And I eat it and turn it into smoothies and all that really cool stuff. Watch the video to find out more. Martys Garden is all about compost worms, composting, farming worms indoors and out, and growing some of the most awesome food around. You can learn how by clicking the subscribe button and hitting the bell so you don't miss any of my videos.
Welcome world to the Martys Garden Show.
So how did this papaya tree get started and how am I ending up with fruit only 13 months later? Well, I want to fill you in on the story because this papaya tree is quite special to me. When I moved into my new place here on the mid-north coast, I was on sand and I thought, wow, I've really got to get started and start building up the organic matter in the sand. So what I did was, I'm a no-dig garden guy, and I love straw bale gardening, and I do mine using organic methods. So what I did was I got hold of some straw bales right before the drought started to hit, and we can't get them here at the moment. And I put a couple in a row, and I started laying compost on top, and then I started planting little things like lettuce and little peas and stuff like that, and harvesting little tiny things for salads. And then I started throwing more compost on, and I just cut them off, the plants off. I never pulled the plants out, just cut it off at the root there, and just let the roots die and become a part of that process. And as it started composting down, I just threw more compost, bigger plants as it was breaking down, more plants of bigger root systems, and just again cut and chop, cut and chop, cut and chop, and harvest until eventually it started to really decompose. And I was always eating papaya and just throwing the seeds out in the yard because I like them to just come up and grow papayas. And I noticed this one little papaya come up and I thought, oh, that's in a good spot. I'm just going to leave him there and see how he goes. Well, look what I've ended up with today. A beautiful papaya tree that's decided to take over my clothesline. Now, he's very welcome there because he's producing food for me and he's just loving it. And so basically what's happened is I've never ever dug a hole there. It's a no-dig garden process, and I just keep on throwing more compost on top. I throw some worm castings in there. The compost worms are now moved all through that system and laying their lovely castings and moving on the microbes, things there's fungi and all types of wild stuff going on in there. And it's nature that's feeding that soil. So all I'm doing is I'm feeding the soil, not the plant, and just growing this amazing papaya tree. Now you can do this with pretty much any type of fruit tree, but if you come along and you've got one out of a pot that you bought from a nursery or something like that, sure, dig your hole, dig a nice big, get lots of compost around the outside of it, and then just start laying compost and mulch on top every year. And make sure that you mulch right out to the outside canopy of the tree because that's where the roots will always finish, on the outside of where the leaf drips. So the water drips off the end of the leaves, and that's called the drip zone, and that's where it finishes up. So to recap, I started off with some straw bales. I threw lots of compost on top. I wet it all down all the time, let it soak through. I just started growing more plants in there, strawberries and shallow rooted things, until eventually it started breaking down. Then I was growing more deeper rooted plants until eventually it became a garden bed, to which now you see today. And 4 bales later, I've got continual crops coming out of there each and every day. I just walk in and grab those harvests. So if you've got straw bales or sugarcane around or something similar to that, and you want to start no-dig gardening, this is a really great way to do it. Hopefully I've inspired you to get on gardening. There's going to be more cool stuff coming to you right here from Martys Garden. Head over to martysgarden.com.au, check out the courses over there that are available, and get on the newsletter if you're not there already. It's all about organic gardening, and I cover a lot of cool stuff in there, especially for beginners that want to learn about sustainable practices and growing fresh food at home. Have a great day, happy gardening, and we'll see you at the next video real soon. Bye for now. Oh, and I almost forgot to mention that because this papaya tree is one of my favourites, I do liquid feed it quite often with the liquid from the worm farms. Yes, I pour it onto the avocado tree and onto this papaya tree because I love this tree and it's so close to the worm farm, so it does get a bit of extra special attention.